Looking to make some healthier habits this holiday season? Make sure to check out our Moving Through Midlife community over on Facebook, as we are doing a Planksgiving event where we are doing daily plank workouts. We will be doing an Advent for healthy, happy hips this holiday season, and then also have a sugar challenge, a 2-week sugar challenge that you might be interested in. Happy holidays!
Welcome to Raising Healthy Humans, a podcast created for busy moms, where you can easily find information on health and wellness for your family. Enjoy experts who share tips on how to raise children through each phase of life. Gather current information on nutrition and wellness, and listen to Courtney, a health coach, movement specialist, and founder of FormFit, an active and supportive community where she helps busy moms move more. On Raising Healthy Humans podcast, Courtney shares her personal life experiences, training, knowledge, and conversations with other health and wellness experts so you can raise healthy humans.
Today, I'm speaking with Lenora, who is a board-certified speech and language pathologist working with Better Speech. She works with little ones who are learning to express themselves and start to communicate, all the way up to adults who want to improve their speaking skills to become better communicators. Whether you have little ones with speech problems or are an adult who just is interested in learning more, I encourage you to listen to this episode. We talk into a lot of different things. We speak about things that you can be doing with newborns, even while they're still in the belly, with communication skills. We touch on children as they get a little bit older. We talk about tongue ties. We talk about the effects of COVID and masks during this time for little ones. We even speak into posture and how that is affecting people with anxiety due to this change of their neck with all of our electronics. So there was so much wonderful information. I loved having her on, and I really hope you enjoy listening to this episode as well. Hi, Lenora. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Courtney?
Good. It is wonderful to have you here today. I wanted to speak to you about what you do. You own Better Speech.
I work with Better Speech.
You work. Okay. Yes. Perfect. That's exactly what I needed to know. So Absolutely. You are a speech therapist?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm a speech language pathologist.
Okay.
And I am one of over 150 speech therapists that are able to provide speech therapy services throughout the nation and also internationally. And we are 100% remote and 100% online, which is a great thing. And we've been online since long before the pandemic. So it's very, very exciting for us.
Excellent. So, okay. So you are able to help people with any sort of speech problems, correct?
Absolutely. So
we see
all online. So actually, in our profession, some people will refer to us as speech therapists. Others will refer to us by our longer title, speech language pathologist. And we see little ones and we see adults and everywhere in between for a variety of reasons. I like to tell people our profession works from the neck and up, because we do see people for their speech, which is the articulation, fluency, voice. We also see them for their ability to understand language and express language. And then we also see them for their cognitive difficulties or swallowing difficulties. So me personally, I've worked in the NICU with premature babies for feeding and for being able to ensure that they can take adequate nutrition right away. And also I've worked with in skilled nursing facilities where I work with people who have dementia or neurological difficulties, but I've also worked in the community with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So our profession really does work from the neck and up.
Okay. So I had a friend who whose son had difficulty swallowing food.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, like, what would be something as a parent that you would obviously know? I mean, obviously you'd know that they're struggling, but
Mm-hmm.
what are there early signs to try to determine, that someone might have some sort of speech or swallowing problem?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So very specifically, there are that we refer to it as swallowing difficulties, or when they're really little, we'll even say feeding difficulties. So if a little one is actually born prematurely, they might not have the oral motor structure and literal skills to safely and effectively not only be able to receive nutrition, but be able to swallow nutrition. Because when we actually swallow, what's happening in our throat is actually what we refer to as airway protection. So all these muscles move and coordinate so that they close off any opening to our lungs, and that it actually maneuvers the nutrition toward the esophagus into the stomach. So it's really important that we can safely eat. If we don't, or sometimes, for little ones, if they're coughing or you say, oh, it went down the wrong pipe. Quite literally, it went down the wrong pipe. It went toward your lungs. So when somebody's coughing while they're eating, or if they're throat clearing, or in little ones, if it looks like it's difficult for them to comfortably eat, it's probably because it is, and something else is going on. So it's a really kind of a general term that I just gave you, but those are some signs where where they're looking like they're actually having difficulty coordinating a suck, swallow, breathe while they're nursing or while they're taking a bottle. But also, as your little ones get older, you want to make sure that when they're eating, can they manipulate the food? Does it go right and left and back and forth to achieve a cohesive bolus in their mouth so that they can actually safely swallow? So there's a lot of things that go into it for sure.
Okay, so when we chew, we should be moving the food from right to left sides.
Typically, it does go back and forth. We call it rotary mastication. It does go back and forth. If you have a dominant side, that can be common. But what you're doing is, as you're maneuvering, as you're chewing, your tongue is working to achieve what we refer to as a cohesive bolus. Basically, it's working to bring it all together in your mouth so that it can safely transfer it when you swallow.
Okay. And I'm going to try to dissect this a little bit, just because I am fascinated by the way we move and how everything's so integrated. When we're talking about this whole chewing, is there anything that we may notice if we do chew on one side only? Could this create some sort of any sort of problems with tongue muscles, throat muscles, anything like that?
When you're actually chewing on one side, you're favoring the muscles of one side, and the other muscles are not getting as much of a workout. Typically in little ones, what we're seeing is we'll see they go from a up and down pattern to eventually it will transition into a rotary mastication. But your little ones, when you start to give them little pieces of cheese or, really soft crackers, those puffs, you'll see them go up and down. And that's very common. It's because they're working to build that strength and build that organization and coordination.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that. So moving into, say, speech with our children, I have a son who has a slight lisp, and we recently found out he had tongue tie. I mean, he's 15 years old. We never really, no one ever mentioned it to us, and I didn't know. I never really studied his mouth. But what are some signs of speech problems, or obviously lisps and things like that? What do you recommend? Do you have recommendations for people, like if they're starting to notice these things?
Absolutely. So your little one, depending on whatever age that they are. So sometimes little ones are born and their tongue literally is tongue tied. What we refer to as this tissue that's under your tongue is what we refer to as your frenulum. It is either too short or sometimes it can be too thick, but in little ones, they can be born with it. And what happens is your tongue literally cannot maneuver to withdraw the liquid, whether it be if they're nursing or if it's from a bottle. They literally can't maneuver this tongue back and forth. And that is definitely a bigger problem. And if they're having trouble latching, or say you're breastfeeding and your nipples are sore, if it looks like a struggle, if it looks like it's tiresome, probably because it is. And absolutely, usually when newborns are entering into this world, they get this full head to toe assessment, and people are looking at them from a variety of different angles to make sure they're functional. One of them is also to make sure that they can safely eat and comfortably eat, because it is very, very important. So now it's very specifically in your son's case, in the event there are people who can actually have a tongue tie, and we consider it functional, because whether it's released or loosened over time, whatever the body had to do to compensate was completed. And sometimes they do outgrow it. If you have concerns, a lot of the time your pediatrician will be able to guide you, or if you see a specialist like an ENT or a dentist or a speech language pathologist, we can offer you more insight on that. You'll hear a lisp at times. Not everyone has that, because what the tongue does is it has to compensate for where it's working to go back and forth. So sometimes you'll hear a lisp. Other times you'll actually hear people complain, like, it's hard for me to chew, or it's hard for me to eat, it's hard for me to talk. Your little ones will actually tell you, hey, this is really uncomfortable. The big one is when they go to lick ice cream off of an ice cream cone, because you're seeing that tongue project. So really, your tongue should have great range of movement. It should be able to come out. It should be able to go right and left and move all around, because that is the range of movement of your tongue. But it's also, then you get to play with coordination. How quickly can you go to the right, to the left, and go back and forth? So there are a few things that go into it. So if anybody does have any concerns, absolutely reach out to a speech language pathologist. On our platform, betterspeech.com, you can visit us, and we offer a free 15-minute consultation where you can ask us any questions, and then we can actually connect you with a speech language pathologist in your state the very next day, because we're nationwide and we're also international.
And I like this because one thing that we got pushback. So my son had a lisp all through elementary school. I was asking teachers, like, is there anything that we need to do? Or, is this concerning? We hear it. What do you feel? And they would always say, yes, we hear it, but it's not bad enough to see anyone for. So to have been able to jump on a call with you and be able to figure this out further, to realize, I mean, like I said, he's 15 now. We just got his tongue tie removed. So now he's compensated for so long. He's now relearning. He still has the lisp, because he's like, I have to relearn how to say everything because I compensated for so long. I don't know how to do it correctly now. So, and he said it feels a little bit different in his mouth now. But to be able to have someone like you tell us, or, say, yeah, we do need to look into this further, would have been really nice.
I completely agree. For me, I'm somebody who likes to speak with a professional as soon as possible, because I don't know about anybody else, but my 2 a.m. brain will go off with tons of questions. And a lot of the time, especially these days, outpatient clinics are backed up with waiting lists that are 6 months long, or early intervention, or in the school system. These wait lists to just be evaluated can be really quite extensive. And as somebody who likes questions and likes answers, I don't want to wait 6 months to speak to a professional. I would like to speak to one, if not today, then tomorrow. Then that's what I absolutely love about our platform, is because you're able to contact a professional, a licensed, board certified clinician, and ask your questions. And from our standpoint, we can connect you with somebody the very next day. And we are licensed in a variety of states. So specifically, I am what we refer to as a board certified, which means I've taken all my classes and I've graduated from a university, and I then sat for my boards, this very big, important test. And I'm licensed by the American Speech and Hearing Board Association. So it's referred to as ASHA. Now that I have that, it says I'm a speech language pathologist. I now have other licenses that say I am a speech language pathologist in these states. Okay. So I'm licensed in 5 states. So I work from Pennsylvania, but I am licensed and I can work with people in Colorado and Florida and Delaware, and these states that I'm licensed to work in. which allows us the flexibility. So if you're saying, well, there isn't a speech pathologist near me that can work, because we are online, you have the flexibility and the conveniency of working with a clinician who might be in a completely different state, but is completely allowed to practice in that state, allowing you to get your questions answered.
So if we, as parents, have concerns, we would then go to Better Speech. And then, so for that complimentary 15 minutes, you said, what are you asking questions, or are you sitting with the child to hear them speak, or how does that all work?
That's a great question. Typically, when people come for our consultation or they log into betterspeech.com, what happens is we have that complimentary consultation where we will talk with the parent and we will talk with the guardian, whomever it is, and tell us what is going on. So my child isn't speaking, they're 2 years old, and they really only use one word. We would say, okay, just from that little bit of information, we do suggest that you connect with a speech language pathologist in your state, and that way you can initiate speech therapy services. So another great thing is that if you say, you know what, I just want them assessed and to work with a clinician just to get an idea, you can work with us only one time, no problem. You can also work with us on a continuous basis. So we offer session by session rate, and then we also offer month by month rate, which is an amazing deal, because our entire goal was to be not only convenient, not only effective, but affordable. So even better, we then provide you with a bill that says you can take this to your insurance company and get these services covered, because we include all these important codes that the insurance company is going to go, hey, do you have these codes? And you can say, yes, I do. Here's the information you need.
Okay. And you keep mentioning that you will then connect us with a speech pathologist in our area. Does that mean that we then are pushed out and have to wait 6 months? Or does this mean that we are then connected, say, with you specifically because you have a license in Florida?
Yes.
Okay.
So we would then link you up with another clinician, and then from our platform, you would log into your account and it says start meeting here, and you can then have the flexibility to say, hey, is there a clinician that's available at 5 o'clock at night when I'm home, or is there a clinician that's available at 10 in the morning? Because that's my flexibility. We would connect you from that standpoint. So what happens is on our end, when you say I need a speech pathologist at 10 a.m. on the Eastern Standard Time, our team then communicates with the other clinicians and we say, okay, great. Here is one. Let's connect you and let's start working.
Okay. Perfect.
So it was minimal legwork on your end, which is ideal because we have so many things to do all day long.
Yeah. I love this idea. And you don't, so when you start working, because there's a lot of, I feel like when you see a speech pathologist or therapist, you're then doing a lot of facial movements and things. And this can all be done online, where you're communicating and you're watching how they're talking and able to tell them to do things differently and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing is that it's also from the comfort of your own home. So for me in the area that I live in the state of Pennsylvania, and my nearest clinic is half hour away, which means I would have to get in the car, stop and get a snack, possibly get some gas, arrive at the clinic, pay copay. And in my state, we're still separating parent and child, and they cannot go in the therapy room. In my state, we are also in a mask. So it's even with our see-through masks or our shields, it's still a little tricky to then, especially if your little one comes in with a mask on, then you have to work around that. So the nice thing is that not only are they in their most comfortable element, playing with their most comfortable toys with the people that they trust most, I, as a clinician, also have the ability to talk with the parent or the guardian and say, here's what I'm noticing. Here's how to practice at home. And here's how you want to implement it. When I'm in a treatment room and I get separated from the guardian, I don't have the ability to explain what I'm doing or why I'm doing it or how to look for it or how to implement it at home. So there is a bit of a disadvantage when you're in a clinic setting. You got a lot of factors coming through. Whereas here, we're right there with you. You're at a table. We can talk to you, and I can also share my screen and engage your child with our games and our different variety of tools for education and entertainment. But also, I get to explain to you, okay, show me what your home is like if you want, and I can make this more functional. Tell me what your everyday routine is like, and I can make it more functional for them, because it's so important.
Okay. Everything. I love everything about this with our children. So if someone's listening right now and they are kind of thinking, are there things that we should be looking for as parents, especially early on, maybe before they're speaking, like you mentioned with swallowing and things like that? Are there like little signs of who might need to speak with you?
Absolutely. That's a great question. What are the signs of a delay?
Yes.
So little ones, when they're born, and I love to share this with as many people as possible, when they're in the womb and when they're born, keep talking to your children, because what you're doing, it's so, so important. Even though your 3-month-old isn't talking, they are listening, and they may not be using words, but they are communicating. So little ones will communicate through eye contact. They'll communicate through babbles and coos and cries and all their sorts of noises that they make. And that is them communicating. In time, they learn that, I have the ability to get more of what I want. If I make this cry and if I make this sound, I can get more of what I want. That's intentional communication. And that is absolutely skills that emerge early on, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. Those are skills that are developing. And when they start to use words, so usually by around the first birthday, they have about 1 word, sometimes 2. And if you're not close to that, that's okay. But this is still something to look for. Are they communicating as an and are they playing with their voice? If your child is before a year, if they don't start to make coos and babbles and play with their voice, that's definitely an early sign that something else is going on. Because if you're talking to them, what we absolutely knew, all newborns get a hearing screen immediately. And if they're not making sound, and now you've been talking for a period of time and they're not looking to engage and looking to communicate with you, something else is going on. So absolutely communicate with your pediatrician. You can reach out to us and we will ask you other questions so that we can better get more information on what you're experiencing and how we can help. So when they start to go from that 1 word, you're going to start to hear them over, usually between 18 months and 24 months, you're going to see this explosion of language. It's going to go from 1 word to tons and tons and tons of sounds and word approximations. So they might not be able to say bottle, but you're going to start to hear baba. You're going to start to hear that blending from ba is just a consonant and a vowel. Baba. Consonant, vowel, and they're going to build on these strings. So their word approximations will start to become more clear. Then they'll start to move into, usually around 2 years old, they're going to start to pair words together, like where daddy and who doggy. They'll start to bring those things together because you've now laid all this amazing groundwork of all this communication. So it's important, if you're not seeing this development, this early development of their intent to communicate with you, those are signs that you absolutely want to reach out to a professional. And even if you're not sure and you're kind of on the fence, I always err on the side of caution. And I say, still reach out anyway. There's no harm in talking to somebody. It's only going to give you more information and help guide you better as the parent or the guardian.
Okay. Perfect. You also mentioned that you work with adults.
I do.
So explain this to me, because I'm assuming by this point we would know if we have any sort of like speech impediment or anything like that. So what are you then working with people on? Is this more communication skills or what? You tell me.
So there's so much that goes into language. So another really quick sign from early development, if your little one isn't following directions, if they're not responding to you when they're talking, those are receptive language components, and you want to absolutely reach out to a professional.
Okay.
So this adult component, I do see adults, and adults, we're going to start talking 18 and upwards. So I'll see people for their fluency of speech. Sometimes people will be just fluent in certain situations, and they've managed to no longer need speech therapy, or sometimes they want to clarify their skills when they're in certain spaces. And, as they start to become a working professional, their fluency may change. And sometimes these childhood things that they've now outgrown may come back. So I see them for that. But I also see people for neurological components, such as COVID brain fog. That's a recent one that's come up, but also memory loss, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, especially for voice. Okay. When you experience Parkinson's, these muscles actually shift and change very, very much. And what they'll experience is not only trouble swallowing, but they might also experience voice difficulties where they actually can't. They think they're shouting to you, but really their speech is mumbled. They're quite mumbled. They're very diminished. So really helping to keep their voice, because this is so important, especially when they want to talk to their loved ones. And if their loved one has some hearing loss also, it's really important that you keep those lines of communication open.
Okay. So I think a lot of people don't really think beyond speech and, like you mentioned, the swallowing and everything. And if you don't see any problems, they're like, okay, I'm good. But what I'm learning, just through kind of learning about the body and movement and everything, there are huge components to all of this. I notice, like, for myself, my glottis shuts. Like I have this weird, I don't know what that is, why I do it, but it'll close up. Okay. So I feel like, are there things, and the point of my going off on this tangent is, are there things that we can be doing just as everyday people to ensure that we are not maybe stressing our muscles in our throat out? Also, how posture and this text neck might be affecting all of these muscles in our neck and throat. Can you speak into that at all? And I know I'm kind of hitting you off guard with this question, but as you were talking, I was like, oh my goodness, like I've got to go here.
You have amazing questions, Courtney. I absolutely love all of your questions. So very specifically, just from a stress management standpoint, and as you know, in your area of expertise, your body is incredibly important. So the more that you can move is a good thing, to stretch, to keep your body was designed to move. So sometimes we do find ourselves sitting for longer periods in the day, and it's really important to get up and move your body, especially because when we hold stress, we're usually, especially if you look at our posture, it's usually in a leaned over position. You're moving your neck forward, but you have to be able to move your neck dynamically and to keep that area fluid. So I always recommend staying hydrated in water, making sure staying hydrated in Gatorade is completely different than staying hydrated in water. So absolutely stay hydrated, but also be very aware of your body mechanics. Also, one thing that a lot of people don't know is when you're in a chin down text mode, or when you're typing at the computer and you're looking down, this is actually having a chemical hormonal balance that increases the feelings of anxiety and depression and sadness. And it actually is not beneficial to us. So what you want to remember is to keep your posture in alignment, bring your head up when you're talking to people, keep your body mechanics really nice and strong. So that way your shoulders are back and relaxed, your chin is up. You're having this really supportive posture. Sometimes we'll like to divide our body up into different parts and like, oh, because I'm sitting, I can slouch, and it all gets wonky. It's really important that we know how to take care of our bodies, and knowing how to explore that and learn what's right for you. There's not one way for everybody. It's not designed that way. But to really be open to the idea of what works best for me, and what works best for me might be 5 pieces of one thing and 2 pieces of another, and just really raising our own awareness of that. Vocal rest is also a good thing, especially if you're talking on the phone throughout the day. really allowing those muscles to rest because we are using them a lot. And a lot of people think, well, I've been talking my entire life. It's still important to care for this part of your body.
Okay. So with the abundance of machinery, like, the iPads, the phones, all of that thing, with not just adults, but for our children as well, are there things that we can do to help strengthen these muscles and support them? I know you're saying, you went through many things that we can do posturally, but is there anything else that you would recommend we do to kind of help get our children more upright, more, I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, I know you had said the coordination of the tongue, making sure that you can go back and forth between both sides. I don't know how that all might play in to all of this, but I think it's hard to do that. You feel like you have to sit up straight to do that.
That is, I would continue to just raise your own personal awareness of how you're standing and really try to draw your attention to how you want to breathe and also how you want to project, because this is a full, if some people can't see us right now, I'm standing, and this is body language. We have the language of our words. We have the language of our emotion. We have the language of our face. This is body language. And it's really, really important that we continue to be aware of the fact that we do have the ability to stay upright, and especially adults to parents, or parents and guardians to children. Your children will model you. So the more you can keep your posture in a nice, strong way, the more it's going to carry over to your little one, and really continue to raise your awareness. Yes, we all slouch at times, but to also really be aware that it does not become a chronic slouch. You want that flexibility in your muscles and in your tissues. Same with your head positioning, to also, absolutely find different things that you like to maneuver, to stretch that area so that you don't hold stress, but also so that the whole area stays nice, warm, fluid, and has freedom to move.
Okay. And then with, you had mentioned the masks. And children, have you noticed anything different with all these littles? I guess it's still kind of early to say, like, those that were babies, but maybe have you noticed anything and things that parents can do to really ensure that they're exposing their children, I guess, to more mouth movements and stuff?
Absolutely.
I would think that maybe that would be affecting them somewhat.
Absolutely. And you're completely on target right there. Absolutely. Completely on target. With little ones, especially when there was what we refer to as our COVID babies, when they were born at the very height of it, when you wanted to wear a mask in your house because you just didn't know, it's really important to do as much as you can to talk to your children face to face, because 70% of what we're doing, 70% of our communication is non-verbal, which means my facial expressions, my body gestures, other things are going into it. So when half our face was covered, that was a really big deal. And these little ones missed out on facial expressions and really being able to understand what facial expressions mean to them and how to interpret them. And it's very, very important that whenever you're talking, especially when you're talking with children, have them look at your face, have them understand that eye contact is a good thing in this culture that we're in, but also that you're communicating with your face. And we are seeing some difficulties, especially in that expression, but also because they missed out on this input. Our mouth is doing a ton of movement right now. And usually when we talk to people, we use our peripheral vision to capture this other information. Our brains are absolutely fantastic, and they have that ability. I don't have to look at your mouth to understand you. There's a variety of things that are going on, but it's really important that your little ones keep seeing your face, but also when you're doing other tasks, offer different voices, offer vocal play. When you say you're reading or you're having a nursery rhyme, offer different variations, because at one point there was a lot of muffled sounds going on and they didn't have the same clarity that they would have had. Also let them interact and socially interact with other people. These little ones missed out on a ton of language. For example, think about 2019. If you had a 6-month-old you were likely taking them to the grocery store with you. You were taking them to the playground, and they were going out on errands and hearing these other sounds, these other components of language. You were having friends over and they were seeing this other social communication. It's really important that children see these ways of communicating, but also hear them and be a part of them and know when they can shift from talking from peer to peer and shifting when they talk parent to child, or when they talk to an adult to a child. Are they shifting appropriately? These are really important things of communication that we're talking about, and these little ones missed out on quite a bit. So it's really important that we do go back and we make sure, let's make sure that we're on point where we need to be, and if not, how can we help?
Okay, perfect. With our moms that are listening,
Mm-hmm.
Can you give like 1 or 2 tips that they should pay attention? And we have a range of age of mothers, so feel free to pick whatever age you want to. I've got moms with newborns, and then I've got moms with kids out of the house. So, it's completely up to you. I know that it can vary, but can you give us 1 or 2 tips of, what either things to notice or things to work on with our children, anything that you'd like to help, kind of bring it in?
Absolutely. So for your little ones, keep talking to them and have them look at your face, engage with them. They're going back and forth with you. They're communicating with you. Make sure that you're there, you're modeling them, they're modeling you, that you're there having this great back and forth, and that they're engaged in communication. For some toddlers and little ones, usually around the age of 5, you can understand almost everything the 5-year-old is talking about. If you're missing some sounds, such as an R is quite difficult. So if it's missing still, that's okay. Once you start to hit the age of 7 or 8 and that R hasn't come in and you're still hearing wabbit for rabbit, that would absolutely be a red flag. Don't hesitate to reach out to a professional. Big shifts that occur in their lives, such as going to a new school or a very dear friend moving away. Really big shifts can actually disrupt the speech pattern. So if you're starting to notice some disfluencies, was there a big event that resulted most recently? And if it persists for 3-4 weeks, absolutely. Or if you notice it worsening, reach out to a professional. You're welcome to visit us at betterspeech.com, and we'll provide some more insight for that. Other ones, for as you get into 8, 9, 10 and older, listen carefully to their storytelling. What are they able to recall the movie? Are they able to recall the events that took place over the weekend? Here, you might hear a lot of filler words such as, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was good. That's communication, but that's not answering your question of, tell me about the story. Can they give you a beginning, middle, and an end? Can they tell you what they learned in school? Can they tell you context-related information with detail? If they're very surface related, you're missing a lot of information, and you want to reach out to a professional, because that context detail, that information of storyline, character, plots, that's really, really important, especially when it comes to, hey, what did you do this weekend? And if they can't find the words to tell you, that's a red flag. So absolutely reach out to a professional and visit us at betterspeech.com.
And you work with children with that as well.
Absolutely. Okay. And we're seeing a lot of that most recently, because smartphones are great, but they tend to be very distractive. So if somebody says, what did you do this weekend? And you can't find the words, you have no problem. You can swipe that and close out the conversation and go bye. But when I'm having a conversation and you can't tell me what you're learning in school, and you can't tell me an event that occurred over the last 24 hours or what you had for dinner, and I'm missing a lot of information, that's a big red flag.
Interesting. Very interesting. This is all so much great information. I have more questions, but I'm not going to keep you.
I'm so glad.
So how can we learn more from you and learn more about Better Speech?
I'm so glad that you have more questions. I love your questions. They're fantastic. So yay for good information. You can reach us at betterspeech.com. We're also on a variety of social media platforms. And if you have questions, like I mentioned a couple of times, your ears might be ringing now. betterspeech.com. You can reach us there. You can also find us on YouTube. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to leave comments and ask your questions there, and we will do our very best to create videos and content for you so that we can answer those questions for you.
Because you're on YouTube as well, correct?
We are.
And are
YouTube,
you answering,
Facebook?
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and answering people's questions through there if okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're very proud of the platform that we've created over the last number of years, and it continues to grow, and that's a fantastic thing because we're here to be of service.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I really appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to our podcast. I hope you found this information valuable and hope that you are able to begin using some of the tips that were provided immediately. Make sure to check out the show notes for all the links that we discussed today. As a mom myself, I understand that at times you can feel alone and are looking for a sense of community. I hope that we are able to provide that for you. Make sure to join us over in our free Facebook community, Moms Raising Healthy Humans. We also offer 3 tiers to our program where you can do daily movement snacks with a calendar. You also have opportunities to check out our membership portal where we have workouts, weekly workouts that you can do. And then we also provide Zoom classes where you can work out with us live. We try to do something for everyone so that all people feel that they can find an opportunity to move more, find a supportive community, and live healthier lives. I hope to meet you soon, and as always, feel free to reach out to me with any questions you might have. You can find us at formfitonline.com. And as always, keep moving.